Writing a book is extremely rewarding, but it's long and tedious. When it's not your job, you need to have a day job flexible enough to be able to free up enough time. Yeah, what kind of job is there where you write a lot of books? Oh right, a lawmaker or a minister. I'll spell it out for you.
Facts.
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 Yeah, facts.
I've already written a book. Even though a personal experience isn't everything, far from it, it can help as a starting point for reflection.
I've already read a book back in 6th grade, so I'm participating.
It wasn't a big book, 200 pages, but it still took me 5 months to write it, about 20 hours a week, so that's a total of 400 hours. I think most books take longer to write.
Me, it only took me 3 weeks in prison.
Full time, 10 hours a day, I had nothing else to do. So more like 200 hours of work, but for 400 pages, hey.
Did you see The Beast?
Afterwards, if we're in intuitive writing mode, not doing any research, not cross-checking our sources, and only doing a single proofreading pass, I think we can write it faster. But well, you can't have much respect for your readers.
That's a joke!
Even if you're slapping it together, I wonder how someone writes a book while serving as a minister or member of parliament, since ministers reportedly work 70 to 80 hours a week. A French or European member of parliament typically works 60-70 hours a week, and since that sounded a bit lower, they quickly added that it can go up to 100 hours in the busiest weeks. So, the question is, how do they do it after entire weekends, love affairs, sleepless nights, to manage to work 70 hours in a week? Yeah, because for me, after a Sunday morning, boudin boulette until 6 p.m. at the village square, well, on Monday,
at work I fall asleep.
But the real question is how you find time to write with such a demanding job. No one can, after a real 10-hour workday, grind through 2 hours of writing. Oh yes, I am able to do it. To fight writer's block, you draw little white lines on it. So then I told myself there are several options. Let's get to work. Either they do this during work hours. It seems that Jordan Bardella wrote his book during plenary sessions.
So, is it true or not? You have nothing to say?
Or they do this instead of working, which still affects their performance. And it's not Bruno Le Maire, who wrote 3 books as Minister of the Economy, who can deny it.
And still, I didn't have time to release the last one. Bringing Russia to its knees for dummies.
Oh, that?
I'm on vacation, so I'm letting my hair grow.
I have nothing else to do.
Brain time!
Let's assume we're dealing with geniuses who hide their talents well, or workaholics whose results we unfortunately can't appreciate for now. But still, the damage that Bruno Le Maire did to the French economy, we noticed it right away. Even if they're still catching up. In any case, to write a book, you have to devote a huge amount of brain power to it, and it takes up the rest of your day. It can even be very difficult to write about another subject.
Don't get me started.
On Sunday, I really thought hard from 2 to 5 p.m. about what kind of text message I was going to write to my wife to tell her I wouldn't be coming home for lunch. Mental bandwidth is by definition limited, and that of ministers and deputies should essentially be devoted to properly carrying out their work. We should be able to count on that.
Huh? Count?
I've always struggled with math. How else could I prepare and present bills as a minister? Review them, amend them, and vote on them as a member of parliament? Amending a bill is the bare minimum in your day, Jordan?
You really don't do that, do you?
Even if they're not the ones writing it, it still takes time to manage people to write it for you, even ghostwriters. What? Ghostwriters, huh?
Ghostwriters?
What? You mean Negroes?
If you can, oh damn shit. Haha, the N-word, little faggot there.
And by the way, when it comes to politics, I think it would be within our rights to know who actually writes what we read, or what we don't read, as the case may be. But even more so, especially if it's written by parliamentary assistants, potentially paid with our taxes.
I am the law?
The problem is that our political friends, well, they've become masters at doing what isn't forbidden to them, even if it's, and in this case, writing a book is allowed. Oh yes! This freedom is part of Article 2570 of Law Number 83-634 of July 13, 1983 concerning the rights and obligations of civil servants. It allows the creation of intellectual works without prior authorization. Oh yes, you can be a member of parliament and a TikToker.
That's capitalism. That's Mr. Bolloré.
So, maybe we should reconsider the law and better regulate key national positions that are supposed to move our country forward. Let me remind you that it's the members of parliament who vote on the laws. And besides giving themselves raises every year, they don't really touch anything that concerns them. And above all, otherwise it's pointless. We also need to severely punish abuses. Hey, I remember Marlène Schiappa, a book she wrote during her working hours. She promoted it through her ministerial social media accounts. And there you go, just a little warning.
Marlene,
She also did an ad for a hair salon.
on her ministerial account, the beginning of the end, the first influencer minister. Oh, but how far are we going to sink?
Hey, it was kind of prophetic because she's in a reality show called The Traders. And she's a commentator on Hanuna's show. Oh, now we're seeing the bottom of Brigitte's underwear. That's not a pretty sight. We're getting off topic, but the number of lawmakers who abuse their positions to, for example, go see a show for free as VIPs with champagne and snacks in exchange for a little promotion. How are we supposed not to think they're ready to sell out to the first lobbyists who come along when they're not busy promoting themselves? Still, all of this should be controlled and forbidden.
During your term, you work for France. You're not some lousy influencer on permanent vacation.
Conclusion. I'm going to suggest a few ideas. Why not ban ministers and lawmakers from writing books? Even if it's a production of intellectual works, they're already handsomely paid for having their minds occupied. But occupied with improving the country and the living conditions of the French people. Writing is a job. You've got plenty of work, you're not allowed to take a second one.
In the public sector, for example.
Article L121.3 of the General Public Service Code establishes the principle that a public servant must devote all of their working time to their job, which doesn't seem obvious to everyone apparently.
So I know, there are plenty of exceptions.
Holding multiple offices, all that. But well, when a second job affects the performance of the first,
Maybe we shouldn't mess around.
still, banning things is rarely the best solution. So I suggest, since there's an overlap, that we take away their salary as a minister or elected lawmaker when they make a lot of money from a side activity. When you earn several €100,000 from a book release during your term in office as an elected lawmaker, the least you could do is not get paid for a job that's at best half done.
It's clear, otherwise it's theft. And if you steal an egg, you'll steal an ox.
Afterwards, if they still believe they're in the right because they write exclusively outside of their 80-hour work weeks thanks to miraculous insomnia. Why not? I have a good supply of insomnia. Sniff, sniff, let's get back on track. But since we're their employer and they have obligations toward us, we require at least their writing schedule with proof of their free time. All of it tracked digitally. Today, software keeps track of activity hours. We'll need dedicated software for writing the book, and any collaborators involved along with their pay. And if they're parliamentary assistants, their schedule should be monitored as well. Plus a public breakdown of the work done as a minister or elected lawmaker during the writing period, to make sure it didn't take up all their available brainpower. I think a bit of paperwork that they won't be allowed to delegate will discourage 2 or 3 of them. And it'll let them see what we have to deal with on a regular basis whenever we make even the smallest request.
I'll add a little solution. Don't buy their books to send them a message. You work for us, slackers. Get off your ass. Did you see this F?
That's twice now that I've done your ending. Maybe it'll become a habit. Well, no, I'd rather not. Thanks as always to those who watch until the end. Leave a comment with the minister you hate most so I know you finished watching. Thanks to everyone who likes, shares, and donates. See you soon.